I've always wanted to play Breath of the Wild, but only 4? Well, I guess better late than never. 4 years later, I finally got the chance to play the game, and I indescribably wish that I would have played it sooner, because it is by far my favorite game. And that sounds like high praise, because it is. It's meticulously crafted down to every small detail. Like, the sound design is incredible. You can hear every footstep and every blade of grass moving in the wind. It even goes as far as to make stealth armor decrease the sound of footsteps you make, and the armor that you have equipped change the sound it makes depending on what it touches. And the music. Oh, the music. I don't know why the game got flack about it, but just listen. When the music for Hyrule Field is played, it reminds you just how much music can change your perception of the world around you. By practicing restraint of the orchestra, when it does play, you realize the power we take for granted because other games are so saturated with it. It also uses some instruments not found in the orchestra to represent different races or people. That's because this game took leitmotifs and put it center stage. It has enough to even make the most prestigious music nerd drool. Like it has leitmotifs for shrines, shrines high up, towers, towers high up, mountain peaks, Hyrule Field, discovering something, enemies, stronger enemies, even stronger enemies, help, horses, houses, morning, night, cold, hot, gliding, and riding. But then there's the 4 champions. Each one of them has a unique theme that represents them and their race. And from each theme, the region that they live in are filled with hints and reharmonizations of the original track. But so I don't talk for an hour and a half about the examples of regional music in this game, I'm going to focus primarily on the Rito. Also because I love birds to an almost worrying amount. So after I was assigned with the task to get help from the different races, I immediately beelined to the furthest possible village from where I was. That ended up being the Rito village, and as I spent more and more time there, I noticed an odd consistency between the tracks I was hearing. So after bashing my head into a wall for a few months, I finally transcribed and analyzed all the tracks around the Rito. What I found was pretty cool, so I'm going to break up this video into 4 parts to keep me sane. So a majority of the music for the Rito are based around 2 themes, one of Dragon Roost Island and of Revali's theme. Before I talk about the Rito village theme, I first want to compare and contrast the differences between that and Dragon Roost Island to see how much was reharmonized or just directly quoted. So starting with Dragon Roost Island, it starts by repeating this G minor F major vamp over a bright fast melody that puts us solidly in the key of B flat. After that, it then develops moving into the 3rd of the key and walks down till it pedals a D sharp chord and seamlessly transitions back to the G F vamp. It then repeats, but the second time around, it walks chromatically back down to G minor. This establishes the melody for Dragon Roost Island that's later used in Rito Village. With that being said, Rito Village stays in the same key of B flat major, and starts by using these large open C minor 9/11 and G sharp major 13 chords. Very reminiscent of Hyrule Field, and probably used as a way to more seamlessly transition from Hyrule Field into Rito Village. Then it moves on to establish one of the largest overlapping themes heard throughout, that comes to represent the Rito in Breath of the Wild. It starts the melody by establishing a figure that goes a minor second down, a perfect fifth up, and a major third back down to the tonic, that being B flat. Then it repeats the same contour, moving the motif 2 semitones down to the key of G sharp, then once more another 2 semitones down to the key of F sharp. But this time, instead of resolving down, it leaps up an octave, landing on F sharp, then moves to G sharp, that being the dominant 7 of the key that has a really strong pull towards the tonic, that then resolves to a D sharp before resolving to A sharp. Keep this melody in mind because it's heard in a lot of different pieces. Anyway, it continues by slowly arpeggiating the chords, walking diatonically up to D, and then falling back down to land directly into Dragon Roost Island. It slows down the melody from a blistering 169 BPM to a slower 112. After this is where the original would repeat the G-F vamp, but Rito Village takes it a step farther and drops a major third into C. Then it begins to build again till it climbs up to C sharp and releases all the tension of the last 4 bars. Now it develops more of the Rito Village theme, bringing in all the instruments to bring this piece to its climax before returning to the beginning and starting the piece again. In the game, not only do Dragon Roost Island's theme get quoted and used as a leitmotif, but so does the Rito Village theme, and another theme, that being Revali's. Revali's theme is very pretty, potentially one of the most pretty themes in the game. It's a very straightforward piece with a clearly defined key and interest curve. The piece starts by outlining Revali's theme and the underlying harmony within. The theme starts on C, or the 5th, then walks down the scale to land on the 4th, then does what's called a diatonic enclosure, where a set of 3 notes encloses the 3rd by overshooting the target note and landing on something further down, then coming back up to the target note. This target note happens to be an F, the tonic, but it feels unresolved. That's because it's played over a C sharp. That's a sharp 5th of the key, making it feel unresolved. Though the 5th is known to be a secondary tonic of sorts, so it feels good to resolve from D sharp to F. It continues moving the F to a C that sounds really nice spaced out in a C major 7 chord. Then through the underlying harmony, it starts to walk diatonically down to where the melody lands on an F, again with the C sharp harmony. Then a bit later, it finally lands on an F with an F minor chord below, finally giving us our 1 chord. Next, it moves into a more open, flowing section, with the guitar defining the chords in arpeggio and the strings playing a tremolo, very reminiscent of that from Rito Village, with the repetition of a semitone interval up and down. Then in solo piano, it directly quotes from Rito Village, same underlying harmony and all. Then it finally comes to a climax where it fully develops Revali's theme. Beautiful. So I actually love to
Teba.
Eva.
Teba.
I actually love Teba as a character, and since he's a champion of the Rito, you would expect to hear a bit of Revali's theme in his. And you do, actually. You hear all of it. Yes, unfortunately, all Teba got was a stripped-down version of Revali's theme, put in a higher register of a piano. I guess you could say it parallels how he's more soft-spoken and serious than, well, Revali's flamboyant nature, for lack of better words. But I'm disappointed he didn't get any original themes written for him. Or at least something a little happier. I mean, come on, man, smile a bit. But I suppose in another track that features Revali's theme in slow, somber piano, also happens to be where Teba spends a lot of his time, so maybe it was on purpose. I don't know. Oh, also that track is Flight Range. So this track is unique because it features both Revali's theme and the Rito Village theme in very transformative ways. It starts by quoting the Rito Village theme 2 keys higher, this time keeping the harmony large and spaced out with added fourths and sixths for a more sparse, somber sounding harmony. Next, it moves into a slowed down version of Revali's theme, a semitone higher. It uses the same chords, but with the middle note moved up an octave to add a wider sound to the simple chords, and it sounds just so good. So besides a few uses of leitmotif shared between the tracks among Rito Village, it also shares instrumentation. Let me explain. Throughout the tracks, you hear reoccurring instruments that commonly take the melody, or at least used in most tracks. For instance, the use of accordion is in a surprising amount of tracks, probably from a certain bird. But you can hear it obviously in Cass's theme, because, well, it's him playing it, which I actually transcribed, but I don't have the opportunity to dissect it, though the sheet music is in the description. Do tell me in the comments if you want to see a quick video dissecting it in between my tri-monthly upload schedule. Anyway, you can hear it in Revali's theme, taking the melody in the beginning and later coming back to double the piano and celeste near the end. And then where it's most prominently heard is the fight with Windblight Ganon, where it takes the melody and adds a certain amount of harmony in what's primarily a chaotic and dissonant boss theme. The other parts that are heard throughout aren't as prominent as the accordion, so I'll quickly touch on them. You can also hear the flute in a few tracks. That's probably because flutes kind of represent birds in traditional music. I don't know, but you can hear it momentarily taking the melody in Rito Village. For some reason, the celeste is used a lot. It's heard in Revali's theme, taking up the melody momentarily. And it's heard throughout Flight Range, pretty much throughout the entire piece as a double of the piano melody. And this doesn't particularly fit in as instrumentation, but I thought it was worth mentioning anyway. This is one of the most overarching techniques found in the Rito's music. It's heard in a majority of tracks, and you've already heard it quite a few times. It's this repeated string ostinato, and for those who don't know what an ostinato is, 1, how'd you make it this far in the video, and 2, its definition is a continually repeated musical phrase or rhythm, but most of the time, it's used to explain a continuous back and forth of 2 notes. You can hear it here in Rito Village as a technique for transition. You can hear it here briefly hinted at in triplets as a build-up for the B section of Revali's theme. And you can hear it in Va Meadow Dungeon. Well, just take a look at it. Regardless, the use of repeated leitmotif, instrumentation, and orchestration helps to blend together a cohesive music tapestry that, with a single listen, you can place where the song originates from. Now, each Divine Beast has a special thing hidden in the background of each of their respective themes. And that's this. Listen closely because it's quite hard to hear. That is Morse code for SOS, a distress signal. This track, aptly named Divine Beast Va Meadow, takes you through a story of Revali's fall. Take a listen. It starts with sparse, dissonant piano chords and a pad, setting us in a polytonal state with no obviously discernible key or tonal center. Then here, at this time, it starts with Morse code. Unlike the rest of the Divine Beast themes, the Morse code does not come immediately. It parallels how Revali was the last champion to fall at Hateno Tech Lab. Revali was determined not to lose. He clung on as long as he could till he couldn't any longer, and despite his ego, he sends out a distress call and continues to fight as long as he can. After, it breaks into this string section and repeats these motifs a few times till about the 4-minute mark. Then the distressing beeps in the background suddenly turn into a flat line. At this point, Revali fought as long as he could, and in the end, he died. After this, the music adopts this now more mechanical feel, with synth pads running dissonant arpeggios till the piece ends. String chord stabs and a gradual degradation of the drive brings us back to the beginning of the piece. This is storytelling through music like never heard before. And to think that just through the background music in the game, the composers meticulously crafted it so that it would tell a story of what happened to the Rito champion 100 years ago. It's mind-boggling, and it's partly why I love this game and its soundtrack so much more than any other. It's rare to get a game this good, and by far it's my favorite. And I know I say that a lot with the stuff I review, but I mean it. I would absolutely adore doing more videos on Breath of the Wild, and if you want to see me dissect other races, do tell me in the comments, and maybe I can do a video on how Hyrule Field uses tertiary chords. So, anyway, backed by popular demand, the next video is on Rio too. Anyway, it's about time I tend to a certain bluebird in the corner. Thanks for watching, and thanks for 100 subs. I appreciate you all. Bye bye.